Penn State On Demand is a service of Penn State Public Broadcasting, and now you can support WPSU when you shop online. Visit WPSU.org/shop to make purchases from national online retailers, and WPSU will receive a portion of the sale with no extra cost to you. So start your online shopping at WPSU.org/shop.
Every generation has events that shape who they are.
The greatest generation defeated fascism in World War II.
The silent generation was defined by ambiguity and the forgotten war.
The baby boomers had Woodstock.
And Generation Xers had the introduction of personal technology.
But it is the millennials who could be the next great generation.
Join 15 Penn State students as they discover
what it means to be in this generation.
We are the Millennials.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of We Are the Millennials. Now, we're always looking for words to describe our generation or different things that really make us stand out, but what do you think are the biggest factors of our generation?
I find it very interesting that people in our generation don't know what our generation is called. Whenever we do these stories, I find it very fascinating that our friends don't know what the millennial generation is all about. And I think when we look back on it, 30 years from now, what our generation is about, we'll have a better understanding. But for now, we're still trying to figure it out. So,
I agree. I think that it's interesting to think about 30 years from now because I think our generation is really innovative, and I definitely think there's a lot of change for the future that is to come, especially with trying to find new ways of being sustainable and different things like that. So, I think we're really innovative.
And Nick mentioned technology. For me, that's what everyone I talk to comes back to, technology. Part of that is being innovative. That's how there's new things developing every day. You can be right on top of things almost immediately.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I find whenever we're doing these stories, we keep coming back to this technology, and a lot of it is about the communication technology. For example, if you're in class, a lot of our classes have computers in them, so we can have up our email, and we're seeing our email come in, and we can have our Facebook up while also typing the notes that we're hearing from the professor, while maybe texting as well. I think that, because we're in such a digital age, multitasking has just completely transformed.
There are, in fact, generational differences with respect to information and processing strategies that people would use to support multitasking.
Now, one consequence of objective measurement as a requirement is that
I have to have a million things going on, or I don't know what to do with myself, because I guess that's just how my brain works.
The millennial generation is more adept at monitoring multiple sources of information. It would not be unusual, though, to see individual differences even across millennials.
When I think of multitasking, it's more making sure that each project that I'm running gets an equal amount of attention and they're each kind of strong in their own way.
I don't ever just do one thing. Multitasking is having something constantly going.
I think some students prefer to pay attention to 2 or 3 sources or channels of information, whereas some believe that they can pay attention to maybe 6 or 7.
When I'm eating dinner, I'm on my computer. I have dinner to go. I'll take it to the computer labs with me. When I'm taking a shower, I bring my notebook in with me.
Well, the generation that's hiring these students mostly includes reflective people who grew up with different technologies, who develop different information and critical thinking strategies, and so they're looking for people who can be as reflective as they are.
I think it's important for people to be able to find skills that they can use on multiple different tasks, but I'll tell you, most of the time I prefer that they not do more than 1 or 2 tasks at the same time.
People in the current generation who are extremely good at monitoring information would be very strong in jobs where they have to monitor for change, they have to shift through large amounts of information and look for critical details.
I was interning this past summer at Mullen. I had a bunch of different projects that I was supposed to work on.
There are times where like two things might be due at almost the same time, so you have to jump back and forth from one to the other.
One of the biggest places I multitask is probably class.
While these students might be texting, and while the older generation might think, oh, they're not paying attention to me, those students are actually just very strong at dividing their attention and selecting and switching attentional strategies. So they may be dividing their attention while allocating some attention to the professor and then kind of re-emphasizing as their needs dictate.
Definitely between phone, Gmail, the Google Calendar, GChat. If I'm working on a project, I usually have that open too.
One of the reasons why students are now doing these kinds of things in the classroom, because the information is coming from us dinosaurs in ways that would be slow relative to the ways that they're used to getting information.
I want to get things done. I'm just sitting there, so I'm constantly thinking, okay, I need to email this person, this person, this person.
They need to take these micro breaks where they're soliciting and collecting information from the world around them so they can then maintain a level of intrinsic motivation that allows them to stay focused.
I have 3-9 and I am multitasking all the time.
There's a lot going on.
It's just like a natural instinct.
The question there is, can they really do it all?
We've sort of learned how to manage.
Don't feel right when I'm not doing multiple things at one time.
What do millennials know about healthcare?
Not very much. I'm 19 and I do whatever my parents tell me to.
No, I don't know too much about their health insurance plan or anything. I know currently that we're in a crisis.
So what do you plan on doing when you graduate?
To look for a job that has benefits covered.
I'll probably get health insurance through my employer, I would hope.
Millennials set to graduate college are faced with dealing with many questions, one of them being what they're going to do about their health care and health insurance. So we came here to UHS to try to figure out from the professionals what they think we should do about our health care and health insurance plans.
People buy health insurance to basically protect you against very high health care costs.
Margaret Spear is a university physician and director of University Health Services. She explains to us exactly what health insurance is.
You basically are paying for someone else to take the risk that you will or won't get sick. So if you have a health insurance plan, when you go to the doctor, instead of you having to pay out of pocket, the health insurance plan pays the doctor. One of the risks that you take when you're uninsured is if something unpredictable happens to you and you get very sick and you need to be hospitalized or you need surgery or you need lots of outpatient medical care, all of those costs have to come out of pocket. And those can run into very high numbers.
Greg Galiffa is a senior here at Penn State set to graduate in May, and he has reason to be nervous about his healthcare future.
I'm not really sure exactly what it is. It's just like some type of condition where when I look a certain way, my one eye will go lazy, like it'll slant, so I see double. My vision will split. So I'm not really sure what it is, but I went to the eye doctor over spring break, and they told me that I have to go see a specialist, and I have to go home to do it. I only have 2 months left before I graduate, so I'm not sure when I can go home because I work every weekend, and I need that money to pay for rent. So going home for me is a bit of a burden, and I only have 2 months left before I graduate, and then after I graduate, I'm going to be off my mom's medical insurance. So if I don't get this looked at now, I'm going to have to wait until I find a job.
On this vote, the ayes are 219, the nays are 212. The motion to concur in the Senate amendment is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Well, it's supposed to extend coverage till you're 26 under your parents' insurance, which is great because a lot of people who go on, say, to medical school or law school, then you're still covered.
I think it's good for us so we can slack off a little bit to find our own, but I don't know if it's going to be good in the long run.
When I'm 26, hopefully I'll be handling my own business and my mom won't. But I think that's great. I mean, it's a lot of less things you have to worry about.
On March 23rd, President Obama signed the most progressive health care reform bill in over 4 decades. And the people it affects most are us. Now young adults who are labeled as high risk cannot be denied coverage because of any pre-existing condition. That affects 15% of millennials. And young adults can now stay on their parents' health care until the age of 26. That affects another 2 million of us. some of whom were set to graduate college and lose that coverage completely. Now, granted, the bill does have its opposition, but we found one millennial who's pretty excited about the bill.
It has lifted a giant weight off my shoulders. I feel great. When I found out about it, I was surprised because it was such a thing, like a huge burden, you know, over my head. And then it was just like, yeah, you're good until you're 26. It was unexpected, and I'm really happy about it.
Hello, I'm Greg Manson. I'm from Glasgow in Scotland.
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm from Hughesville, Pennsylvania.
السلام عليكم. أنا راشد سويدي من دبي.
Hi, I'm Natasha. I'm from London.
我的名字是 Monica. 我是从费城来的.
Hey, I'm Brittany. I'm from Philadelphia.
And I'm a millennial.
And I am a millennial.
I am a millennial.
And I'm a millennial.
我是一个 millennial.
And I'm a millennial.
If you walk around Barcelona, nobody's going to say, you're not from Europe, where are you from? That's different.
I think for Americans, like, traveling around the world isn't as much of a focus as it is for Israelis.
Being over here definitely changes you, and I think that it makes you more knowledgeable and makes you aware of what's going on in the world more than just in your own countries. Recently, I just started using my BlackBerry, and it's been nice with GPS and everything. Otherwise, my iPod Touch has been helping me a lot also, and without it, it would have been a lot harder to like navigate, especially when we go on trips on the weekends or for breaks or whatever. And without it, I'm sure that things would take twice as long. So I definitely use it a lot while I'm over here.
The difference is that in Spain we don't have campus, university campus. The campus are in the middle of the cities, and it's a very small campus. For example, our university, I don't know, it has only one building, and that's all, with lots of classrooms and no more, no more. And here it's very common to have big campus out of the cities like Penn State, and probably this is the most important difference between both, because here is very cool because it's a city that lives a lot of young people, and in Spain we don't have that.
When you're backpacking, you don't necessarily meet a lot of Americans. I met like 3 Americans when I was there, and every other person was from another place, and I feel Israel is different because it's such a small country, so you want to get out of this like country the size of New Jersey, basically. So you want to go, you know, you're so close to Thailand, India, and you want to go and see like all these other places where I feel like America is so big that going to like California is like, oh, it's a big deal. I feel like very at home when I'm there, and you know, I'm more close to my family in Israel than I am with my American family, which is I think very interesting, especially because they're so far away. My grandparents definitely put like more pressure on me to go to school there, but I really do like it there, and I want to get the experience of living in Israel. It's difficult having, you know, family who live so far away. It makes it a lot more difficult to stay in contact with these people that are very close to you. When I used to write letters to my friend, I would talk to her twice a month because it takes 2 weeks to get to Israel and 2 weeks to come back. And now I get on Facebook and I, you know, Chen, call me, go on Skype. I go on, you know, whenever I need to talk to her about anything, from like, you know, our plans to like shoes, it's so much easier. Whereas before, it would take a lot more time. Yeah, Skype is like the cheapest way to stay in contact with people who live so far away, so yeah, Skype.
I know personally I've grown a lot out of this experience, and I think I can say that for other people as well.
It's the same here in Spain than in America. We are the generation of internet, mobile phones, all of this stuff, and I think, in my opinion, we have an easier life than then.
So one interesting thing that I think we could talk about is how we live in this global society where everybody can go somewhere overnight to a different country and wake up in a completely different place. Have any of you studied abroad by any chance?
Actually, I studied abroad. I studied abroad in Costa Rica, and you know, when you think you can be in New York and then 8 hours later in a completely different environment, completely different culture. It's really amazing. But, you know, at the same time, because we are such a global community, the millennials, they might speak a different language or even have different religion, but we all have Facebook, we all have Skype, even in a completely different type of environment. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I think I find the concept of seeing a different part of the world before your own home fascinating. I think as millennials, we don't realize how much of a luxury it is to be able to have the ability to travel to different parts of the country, the world, like Europe, Asia, Africa. It truly is the thing that I think our generation is taking advantage of. So.
Coming up next on We Are the Millennials. Have you ever wondered what it is like for a day in the life of a meteorology student? Well, stay tuned because you'll find out next.
With the largest student-run campus weather station in the nation, it comes as no surprise why the Penn State meteorology program has a reputation for excellence. Penn State College of Earth and Mineral Sciences Dean, Dr. William Easterling, has confidence in the meteorology program.
Well, we're one of the first universities and one of the first colleges within a university to have incorporated meteorology as a separate discipline in our curriculum. Many other universities have some form of atmospheric science or meteorology, but for the most part it sits in an earth science curriculum, and we give it a lot of attention, and the spotlight is on our meteorology department. We've been able to recruit some of the absolute top flight meteorologists, scientists available in the world.
The name Penn State meteorologist is definitely, to me, the best, and to many other people, the best. So it's great having the name. The education is a very, very difficult process to go through.
The primary difference over the past 30 years has not only been that we continue to learn more about the physical operating of the atmosphere, but also the fact that we can simulate it much more effectively with our computers. The computers now are so much faster, they're so much more capable of allowing us to put together long-range forecasts, forecasts that have much higher quality, much higher resolution than we ever could before.
There's 3 different types of satellite imagery. You have your water vapor images, and your visible images, and your infrared images.
We are truly blessed with gifted students in this program, and that's one reason why they go on to become such successful meteorologists, and why the footprint of Penn State meteorology is like the Godzilla in the weather world.
This, by the way, is a great meteorology school. The AccuWeather founder, Joel Myers, a PSU alum and a trustee. So we brought in senior meteorology major Drew Anderson for tonight's forecast. Drew, welcome. What do you have for us?
How's it going, Chris? And I'll tell you what, I hope the fans don't boo me because the game will be a soaker.
Being on ESPN was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I mean, how many people get the chance to do that, let alone students, a meteorology student? It just was something I'll never forget for the rest of my life. From some of the broadcast things, there's so many different opportunities students can experience with live TV shows. They can actually get their mug on the local TV stations up here. And then not just for TV, but so many other things. We do forecast for some of the local radio stations here. And then just the speakers and the internship opportunities that people set up. There's a lot.
Weather has gone into many different departments. It's not just forecasting. There's many different other departments you can get into, like weather risk. That's like the big weather in business. My parents never even heard of weather risk when I told them about it.
A lot of people these days are going on their web for their forecast rather than wait for the news. As this technology grows, the industry needs to grow with it so it stays on top.
I often feel like I'm teaching students that someday will be miles above me in ability and understanding.
When weather is your hobby and your passion, and you get to do that for a living, or even as a student, it makes studying a little bit more easy.
I'm excited to graduate with the Penn State degree.
Similar to the way the weather changes, so too does the Penn State Meteorology Department in shaping the way the next generation of millennials presents and consumes the weather.
Yeah, this is a story I really wanted to do. My father graduated from Penn State in 1980 with a meteorology degree. He's a meteorologist. He's been on television for 30 years, so he's kind of seen the meteorology industry and profession kind of change. And what I found that was probably the most interesting in the story is that meteorology now in the millennial age has changed so much as far as the different specific areas of study. You can go into energy, you can go into risk, you can go into all sorts of different types of meteorology. That's something that my father never even fathomed when he came here. So.
And one of the great things about meteorology, I guess, is with the economy now, everyone's trying to find a job. There's always going to be weather, so there's always going to be a job in meteorology available, especially with all the different fields that they talked about in the story.
I think it's really interesting just because it's kind of like an underappreciated thing. We rely so much on the weather and, you know, if it's your wedding or a graduation, so it's kind of cool to know what goes into it and behind the scenes kind of thing.
Yeah, and millennials, I mean, as far as consuming the weather, there's so many different ways of consuming, from the internet, mobile phones, TV, even though that is kind of, I feel like an older generation type of thing. But I mean, it is like interesting to see how the millennials are watching the weather.
Well, that's it for another episode of We Are the Millennials. Here's a look at what's coming up next time.
Next time on We Are the Millennials, get an inside look at the heart of Penn State.